transform. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, like they're robots, seriously.
Yeah. They're emotionless robots that bleed and have organs like us, but have no emotions. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. They literally have a brain in the central nervous system, but they can't feel anything. Okay.
Don't feel nothing. Don't feel no. Doesn't know. Doesn't know. It's not aware of nothing. I had wanted to tell you this thing before it got cut off. I was watching a science program. I think you probably seen it. It's the guy that wears glasses, does like these videos and everything. I wanted to bring up two things that happened in his video. I think there were two separate videos, but he said he was going through the discography of like food production and how animals came to really be on their place. He said during like the 1920ish, like whenever those big wars happened, World War One or stuff like that. He said meat in America, like pig production was not selling, eggs were not selling. So they did this campaign, PR campaign. Oh, it's American to eat pigs. It's American to have bacon and eggs every morning. You're really showing your patriotism for your country if you consume these items, and it blew up ever since the 1920s. So we're trying to fix something from then to now. That's crazy how that one PR campaign went all the way to 2025.
Yeah, well, also, like, at this point, because we have the information, we have the resources, it essentially is just a business,
Yep.
right? It's essentially just advertisement, right? Now, like, whole cuts of meat and like all these things, that's like grocery store food. But when you look at all of the fast food and the restaurants that essentially rely on selling burgers and chicken and all these supposed foods that people enjoy, at this point it's just a business, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's, people know how, forget about morals for a second. People know how bad Coca-Cola is, right? But it's still like the most sold beverage of all time, right, on the planet, because of how strong their advertising is and because of how much people enjoy it. And it's, that's why I think ultimately the moral argument is the one that has to, or that at least I think converts the most people or gets people to stop participating in the action long term. Because if it's not moral reasons, why else would you abstain? Most people, they don't have that much of a care about their own health, right?
Yeah.
Most people are fine doing risky things or doing things that may harm them. Most people are pretty selfish in terms of not wanting to look out for others, like with environmental things. So the only other reason is,
for everyone.
yeah. The only other reason would be that internally, independently, you find this action wrong. So I think that that's ultimately going to be the strongest, or is the strongest case for veganism.
It has to have moral urgency. Like you have to say, oh, this is just diabolical. This is just disgusting. Because I stand back to once again, like I was never converted. I live in Winter Haven, Florida. Have you ever even heard of that place?
I have not heard of Winter Haven, no.
I heard of your place, but no. See, this town is so minuscule. I live within the city. I used to live in a place called Inwood. We weren't even on the map yet. So that's how small it is. And I'm just like, I never met a vegan, never seen nobody protesting on the corner, never seen nothing about veganism. I even heard of a veggie burger until I got older. So I kind of converted myself. Like I never watched The Dominion and all these videos. I'm like, none of that was at my disposal. None of it came on my For You or nothing. So I just kind of have this, like, I call it microscopic moments that led to me to become vegan. I had like so many moments. I'm like, I talk to myself. That's probably why everybody does crazy shit. They don't talk to us. I say, like, why are you eating this if you don't like it? And I sat with that for years, like, why am I consuming these products if I genuinely don't like the taste? And I'm like, what happens? And why am I doing it? So I just overnight went vegan, just did it, and nobody else told me. I just kind of had this, I was just talking to myself like, that's weird that you do that. Like, that's why when I do my activism, I can't wait. I'm going to say, do you have conversations with yourself? Do you question your actions no matter what it is? Like, do you question when you get in this car that you might hit somebody today? Or what? Do you question yourself? Are you just going like, la, 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 la. I'm just here
right.
doing
like, do you
shit.
have conscious, reflective conversations? Like,
Yeah.
do you care about what you're doing on a daily basis or who you are as a person? Like, yeah, I do think a lot of people are essentially just kind of numbing their way through things. And ultimately that's why it has to come from you, right? No matter who you talk to, no matter what resources you see, the actions have to stem from within. And if they don't, then they're not going to last.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, no, it's very interesting, but that's cool that you did that. That's really important. And I think if more people had those conversations with themselves, again, the world would be a much better place.
I think we don't live in an analytical society anymore. Like, I'm always analyzing every action I do. Like, and I just look at people around me. They just do stuff, and I'm like, why did you just do that? You broke your leg. Why? So I think they're robots. I just do stuff. I don't know why.
Right. No, for sure. 100%. 100%.
It's like, what? Okay, back to what the guy is. I just want that. Talk about that one too. He did. I don't know if you've seen it. He did experiment with a roach, but the roach didn't get hurt, guys. So don't worry, vegans. The roach is okay. But they put like this little neuron, replace his fillers, and put this neuron. They was operating the roach like a game. So they make the roach go left. The roach went left. But they saw the roach fought back and went right. So over time, the roach kept fighting back. Like, the roach has free will. I don't want to go right. No matter what you're doing to my brain or my neurons, I want to go. So eventually, because I was trying to drive the roach around a race, and eventually the roach just went its own direction. It kept fighting back and getting stronger and fighting back and fighting back. So something as small as a roach has free will.
And that's a roach.
That's a roach.
Literally a cockroach, yeah.
Literally a cockroach. So, and it wants to go its own way. It wants to live its life how I want to go eat my crumb over here, not run this roach race, whatever you want me to do. So how can y'all not comprehend a cow wants to live their life, a dog, a cat, a bird? They want to live their own life. No matter what you do to their brains, put them in experience. They have their free will just like you have free will. I don't know why humans believe free will is only to them. And they have the free will to take others' free will. So
well, again, because it's convenient, right? It's convenient. Like whenever I have a conversation, people essentially say like, oh, well, humans matter, other animals don't matter as much or don't really matter. I always ask them like, oh, don't you think that's I say, don't you think that's a little convenient? Like, don't you think that the group that you just so happen to be born into is the only one that matters? Like, that seems a little convenient to me, right? That's essentially being like, oh, well, I'm white, and I guess being white's all that matters. Everyone else doesn't. It's like, don't you think that's a little convenient that you're just saying that, without any kind of scientific or logical basis? So, yeah, I think people, it's more convenient, and it's less to think about, and it's more beneficial, right? The more people or more things you can exploit, more individuals you can exploit, the more resources you have, the better better your life may feel. But ultimately, it doesn't morally justify it, right? It's wrong. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, I highly recommend. It's always linked on my YouTube video descriptions. It's on my Instagram too. But the New York Declaration of Consciousness, which many people don't know of. It's like the Cambridge one, but the New York is more recent. And it's essentially tens and tens of leading neuroscientists, professors, psychologists, like all the people who study brain function and sentience and consciousness. They all sign off on this document that states mammals and birds are almost definitely sentient. Fish are most likely to be sentient. Certain insects there's evidence that supports their possible sentience. Like they have like a scientific consensus around animal sentience, and they have peer-reviewed studies to show this. So unless you have some better evidence than that, I don't know how you could argue against animals being sentient.
I know they're gonna say, but bacon though. Okay,
right.
I just want to blow up the human race. I just want to blow it up.
Right. Like I share that with someone, and then they just comment back 3 bacon emojis. It's
right.
Like, okay.
I'm just like, so are we really intelligent or just assholes? Are we really intelligent or just assholes? Because, and that with the bacon thing, like, okay, so you got all this research, neurologists, they want to dedicate their lives to this studying brain waves and patterns and everything, right? Throw that out the window. So, and then they do the lion claim. Oh, but lions don't care. So how can you, okay, this is what I thought about. I'll say, so are we truly intelligent? If we're so intelligent, why are we worrying about what unintelligent animals are doing within the wild and claiming that's good for us then? So we're not intelligent, right. We're equals, right? Because we're claiming what they do is okay and we should be able to do that equally. So we're equals.
Right. Well, it's the lot, because they're essentially saying, well, we can eat animals or we can treat animals
Mm-hmm.
this way because they're less intelligent. And when you say, okay, but they can still feel pain, you go, well, lions do it,
Mm-hmm.
so it must be okay. It's like, okay, but I thought animals were less intelligent, and you're framing your behavior, you're justifying behavior with the behavior of other beings who you claim are less intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't
right?
compute.
Right. It's either animals are intelligent and we so animals are intelligent, so therefore, or animals are valuable, right? Because when you claim that you're basing your behavior off of an animal, you're saying that they're valuable, that they have something of value. So either they are valuable morally and therefore everything we're doing to them is unjustified, or they aren't intelligent, they don't have value in terms of mimicking behavior, and therefore we shouldn't do what other animals do either way. Right? So no matter what, the whole lion claim is silly, especially coming from someone who thinks animals are worth so little that we can slit their throats and do whatever we want to them. So both arguments are really silly and very easily debunkable.
Yeah, I just look at them and I just brush past. Anyway, back to the main topic at hand. So you're trying to say you're as dumb as a lion then, because you want to stiff my ass too while you're at it. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just will never get their cognitive dissonance. Like, I just thank God I was not stuck in their mental gymnastics. Or they probably don't even have, when I think about it, they probably don't even have mental gymnastics. I don't think it's just a baking emoji on loop in their brains. Just just existing with bacon loops. Like, I'm going to get back to the homesteader. Are there actually a lot of homesteaders within America? I haven't seen statistics.
I know that especially in more rural parts, there's a lot of people with like backyard eggs. And I don't know what the definition of a homesteader like formally is. But to me, a homesteader is somebody who essentially they're outside of work, right? Their full-time thing is raising animals, growing food, and so whether it's a personal hobby or it is their livelihood, like if they raise animals at their, on their few acre farm to sell, it's essentially not industrial agriculture, right? So if you're a homesteader, that means your home is where you raise animals or grow food for consumption or for selling. That's what I view as a homesteader.
Yeah, I think actually that even goes back to that they have privilege now, because most people can't homestead. Most people stay in apartments or condos, very small. There's 100%. no way to put a cow on nothing. They have no land, so it's like you come from a place of privilege, and with a place of privilege, you decide to do something horrendous.
No, it's like that guy who says he has a house in the Alaskan bush. Yeah. It's like, okay, you have another home in the Alaskan bush in the middle of nowhere where you choose to go. And my fellow activist friend, Vegan Postmortem, I've done some streams with them. They have a whole homesteader page, so they're very interested in homesteaders. And the page is called Homesteader, so I'll shout the page out.
Yes,
but and they point out how much privilege you actually have to have a homestead, because it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of investment, it takes a lot of land. It's not one of those things where it's not a poor thing. It's not like, oh, okay, I don't have enough money to buy plant-based food, so I'm going to invest in all this land and buy all these animals and care for them and pay for vets and pay for Medicaid. Like, it's not like that. It's hey, I'm tired of making so much money in the corporate world, so I'm going to quit my job and start a homestead. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And again, it's more of like playing pretend, right? Like, look, you are successful at a corporate career with modern resources. I know nobody likes to work, right? I don't like my job, but to then quit your job to exploit animals for profit or to exploit animals for social media, whatever,
or for fun, because I'm playing pretend. I'm a homesteader,
right? Or for fun, yeah. That's not it. That's not the route you should take.
360. Oh my God! I just can't get over how she was the victim in all of this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I have to kill these animals and choke them and drain them. I have to. I'm the
Yeah.
victim.
No, it's so
Okay,
strange.
Jules.
It's so strange. It's again, it reminds me of people who like almost gaslight or victimize their partners in a romantic
Mm,
relationship. Like, you know, when you feel attacked for somebody calling you out on your behavior, um, you're trying to avoid accountability, right? You're trying
oh, yeah.
to, if you're the victim, then you don't actually have to reflect and hold yourself accountable for your actions. It's very similar. And I think it's human nature in a way, but at the same time, there is something with homesteaders because homesteaders are usually the first people to acknowledge how bad factory farming is,
Yeah, yeah, that's what she
right?
was saying too. Yeah.
So they are the first people to acknowledge how awful it is that we treat animals the way we do in factory farms. But their solution to that isn't, okay, I'm just going to abstain from exploiting animals altogether. It's, oh, I'm just going to exploit them myself directly.
In my backyard.
Yeah, by taking an axe to their neck at the end of, like, it's awful. It's really weird thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that actually, and like the threads, like everybody saying, "Oh, we should do it ourselves." So we all should just be hacking up body parts in the backyard. Everybody gets a. That's just gonna turn us all even more psychotic than regular. It's just okay. Now we're just so used to killing and chopping body parts. Road rage is a thing. So you know what? I'm gonna go hack that guy that cut me off on the 13th Street, and now we're just hacking each other up in the streets, and because we're all just psychos with hatchets and killing, and it's just crazy. Like they all think everybody should. And I just seen that video with on Joey's page. That was so wild. Did you see the kids? The man was hacking up a cow in front of his son, and his son a leg.
No, I think I reposted it, or I reposted one of them where it's like, you know, when you, I think maybe George from Carnism Debunk posted it, where it's like, this is what when you say humane and local farming, this is what you mean, right? It's just some dude with an axe or some dude with a gun just shooting animals in the head, chopping their heads off. And I'll never forget, there's a scene in Cowspiracy, which was mostly an environmental documentary, but they had some moral parts in it, where they're on a backyard farm where it's like this dad and his kids, and they're about to slaughter a duck. And they put the duck on the table, and they just take an axe and they chop the head off. And for me, that was almost more impactful than the industrial, than like factory farm scenes. Because factory farm scenes, they're horrific, but because it's in a factory, because there's so many of them, because there's workers, it almost normalizes it. Like it almost makes it seem like this is just another industry, like a shoe factory or like whatever. But when you see like a normal family just take this animal, this innocent, happy animal, because they're not in a factory, right? It was like sunset. So like
enjoying your day.
Right, this duck had like golden light on it, and they were like, it's grass everywhere, and then they just chop the head off, and there's blood spurting it. Like when you see that, it's almost like, that's crazy. Like this is awful. This is not right to do. So how could doing it, like, if it seems this bad in like the perfect scenario, how could any of it be justified, right? So I don't know. For people who can see an innocent animal be shot in the head or have their head cut off for no reason other than human desire, and be like, oh yeah, this is great, this is the best way to do things, that is crazy to me. I will never understand that.
I think it goes back also because it's like us, them versus us kind of thing. It's like, oh, we at least all kind of act the same, walk the same. We might speak different languages or have different cognitive abilities, but we're pretty much the same. You know, I think I never look like I have to be so similar to someone where I don't want to exploit them. I have to be like identical to them. That's weird. That's me. Just, in a way, people are praising themselves. I have to be like XXXX. Okay, cool. I want to exploit them, but you're too tall. Exploit. You're too short. Right. Exploit. It's like what, and it's just like I look at I was looking at like the history of humans. Like I don't know what is because vegans, we always sit down, they was like, let's find a root. How do we find that root of why this is happening to fix it? And when you look at through history, the root is that humans don't go from the jump saying, hey, you're different, let's see what we can agree on and work together. The first thing is, oh, enslavement, you have no rights, this. I don't know why that is. It people like say, oh, hatred is taught. I feel like hatred is already inside a human and is just developed to be more deeper. Why do you feel like involved?
Well, I think there's like I think tribalism is a normal survival thing, right? I think there is a level of, oh, those people look similar to me or are doing something that I do, so they are safer. I'm gonna stick with them, right? I think there's like a level of, okay, if you have a choice of who to trust, right, in a survival situation, and you don't know anything about these people, you're gonna pick the more familiar people, right? I think that is a natural thing. But the problem is, when you're not in a survival situation, when you're not having to go off of these primal, kind of purely biological survival instincts, it's important that we use logic and we use reasoning and we go, okay, even though these individuals aren't what I'm familiar with or are different than me, that doesn't mean that they are going to hurt me or that they are bad or that they deserve to be treated differently, right?
And they'd be like the ones that hurt you the most. You're right. Like, I accept that these people that are like me hurts me.
Right. And that's a very, like, that's what separates humans and other animals, right? That takes a lot of like intelligence and reasoning to not act off of like your caveman instincts, right? Just like animals, like wild animals, they have a lot of tribalism, right? Because to them, right, if you're a wolf, you got to stick with the wolves. Other animals, they could be dangerous. They could be trying to hunt you. They could be trying to poison you, whatever it is, right? So I think typically that's why the more racist, the more sexist, the more whatever somebody is, usually the less educated, right? The less
hit it right on the head.
Reflective, the less, that's why they say like it's ignorance, right? Because they literally don't know any better. They're going off of this idea of, I'm white, they're white, good. I'm white, they're black. Not I'm good. Scared, because it's fear, right? It's fear based. And that's, how do we even start talking about this? I forgot. What was the?
It doesn't matter because I'm gonna cut. It's so good. I'm gonna cut it to 2 parts.
Okay.
So it works. Just keep going if you got your thread going, because it all stems back to homesteaders. It all stems back to, oh, I'm better than you. I'm better.
You said you never had to. Yeah, I think people, they need this like personal connection, right? And you see this with parents and their kids a lot of times, right? If you're not meeting your parents' expectations, they may not love you the same way as if you did, right? Or they may not treat you well, right? A lot of parents, again, they're only viewing their kid as an extension of themselves, right? It is like, it's like an ego thing, right? Where you only want or you only like things that are connected to you or that are similar to you.
Yeah.
Everything else or everyone else can kind of go fuck themselves. And that's,
Yeah, that's true. Because that's how I say when vegans do their activism, then they hate. This is actually the worst. It's more worse when they say bacon, though. This is the worst when they bring up human rights. I'm like, what are you doing for those humans? Nothing, right? And what are you doing for these animals? Enslaving them and killing them. You're actually hurting someone. You're doing nothing for those. You're not helping or doing nothing. So that's neutral.
That's my favorite thing when they're like, well, why don't you should be advocating for, like child trafficking, right? And it's like, first of all, you're not advocating for child trafficking, right? You're not a child trafficking activist. I've never seen you on the street having conversations. Second of all, child trafficking is already illegal. What am I advocating for? Hey guys, we shouldn't traffic children. Everyone's going to go, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Like, it's already illegal, right? Animal exploitation, animal enslavement is not illegal. It's perfectly legal. right? So that's what needs advocating, right? I'm not going to stand on the street saying, "Hey, don't murder other humans." It's like, yeah, no, duh. It's in our laws already to
Yep,
not
that's
murder humans.
already stated. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Actually, I was reading so many studies. They said eating too much meat when you went back, they're not educated, leads to like being less intelligent, and like vegan mothers that eat a lot of high like like leafy greens and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It helps the cognitive for the baby's development in there. Like they're gonna be really intelligent, and of course if you can continue with that heavy plant based, actually does make you more intelligent. I said, huh, makes sense. While people that eat heavy meat diets are shooting up chicken spots. I remember when Popeyes came to that chicken thing. Somebody tried to shoot a guy in line to get the chicken, and then they're shooting up schools once again. So they're doing stupid stuff because they're eating stupid things. They're eating low vibrational food. It's like you're eating tortured flesh and you're doing torturous, stupid, idiotic things. So I think I didn't really make the correlation, but a lot of vegans actually correlate. Like, you are what you eat. I always thought like, oh, that's a funny little meme, little joke, but you truly are. If you eat these certain foods, it do make you act a certain way. And I thought that was just kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, that's why we have the problems we have with humans and for animals, because look what we're consuming. Look what majority of the planet is consuming. Like I think they said, I want to say 90% of the planet is on a heavy meat based diet. 10% is most likely plant based or vegan or vegetarian. So we're not even 30% of the planet.
Yeah, no, it definitely could be. I think ultimately, like I said, it just comes down to education, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, anybody who's remotely educated or about just educated in general,
Yeah.
you're gonna see they don't have a meat heavy diet, right? They might have a diet filled with some animal products because they are just brainwashed or they don't know any better. But there's gonna be more conscious thought put into their daily actions, right? And I think that's what you're seeing is most people, they lack the reflection and the conscious thinking required to like make these very big changes. But ultimately, again, I think it's just like anything else, right? With any kind of industry or situation that like benefits more people than not, morals take a lot of time to change, right? The moral values, especially because a lot of people base their values off of what's illegal, which baffles my mind, right? I'll have you have no idea how many people I talk to that are like, well, it's illegal, so what's the problem? Or, well, that's illegal. Like when I ask them, well, would you want humans to be treated this way? But they'll go, no, that's illegal. It's like, okay, that's not what I asked, first of all, but it wasn't always illegal, right?
You could have married a different person of a different race at one time. That's illegal.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
exactly. So, and it's, yeah, right. Being gay was illegal.
Yep.
Interracial relationships were illegal. Like there are so many things that were illegal that doesn't actually have any weight when we evaluate those decisions morally. And it's, I think until there are stronger laws put into place, like I don't know if you saw recently, but there is a really like conservative lady who's trying to get animal testing banned. I don't know if you saw that, but
I think I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, I forgot their name, but they're essentially advocating for the banning of animal testing, which makes sense because not only is it horrifically cruel, but it's not effective when it comes to testing for the ethic or the safety of substances on humans.
They have
right?
billions of humans that can sign a document. I will give my consent to do this, and because it also benefits me. Like I have this skin disease, I need it cured anyway.
Exactly.
Like, no, we're gonna use this pig. What?
Right. And most of the time, things that fail on animals are effective in humans, or vice versa. It's I think like 90% of studies don't actually pan out when conducted on animals. So, but it's interesting is that if that gets passed, right? From that day going forward, whenever I ask, hey, how do you feel about animal testing? People are going to have in their mind that it's wrong just because it was outlawed, right? So they're going to have in their mind like, oh, yeah, this is wrong because it's illegal. Right? Because the court said it was wrong based on all the evidence. But they couldn't come to that conclusion themselves, right? Which is so interesting.
The Matrix.
And it makes me think, how many people think animal abuse is wrong just because it's illegal? How many people think that that slavery of humans or whatever is wrong just because it's illegal, right? Not actually thinking for themselves.
That just boggles my mind, because I also had that kind of thought process too. So that means in actuality there's no such thing as morality if you're just going to base it on law. That means, oh, today I think it's immoral and illegal to wear blue shirts on a Tuesday. That's some mean girl type shit. And that's the thing. Now it's illegal. So it's just like, and actually, by the way, there's 7 million laws in America alone to where you can get your freedom taken away. I was like, who has the time to know 7 million laws? That goes to show, like, I believe the government, this is a whole nother tangent, but I believe the government is the worst thing to ever happen to mankind. Because every other species, like I said, they have these bonds and they live in groups, and that's it. That's enough. And there's not one ape out there going like, oh, we need to have a meeting today and do all this. No, we have this kind of like, bro, you get it, I get it, cool. Humans like to, how we talk throughout this, so overcomplicate things. Like, the overcomplication doesn't mean you're intelligent. That just means you're kind of stupid. If you think about it, can we not just exist and just exist peacefully? Like, it goes back to, like, only reason people don't do crime and do these things and do that and do this is because if I do this, it affects me. I might go to jail, have my life taken away. I might get the death penalty. That's the only reason why people don't do bad things. Because I asked the point in question. I asked my cousin, one of them, I said, if everything, like, there was no laws tomorrow, no governments, nothing. Oh, everybody's gonna go on a rampage, start killing. Not really. They don't do that now. It's just like there's 7 million laws. People doubt they know 10,000 of them those laws. They don't do it on daily. It's just that people have so much no faith in each other, themselves. Like, oh, it's like the government's supposed to be this safety net. Like, they keep us in line. Like this chain. Like, oh, long as they're there, we will all act accordingly. Like, if there's no laws tomorrow, I'm still do the same thing. I eat my avocados.
Right. Well, the problem is, I think that you have that mindset because you care.
Yeah.
And I think that, but I think a lot of people don't. And I agree. I don't, I think the government existing is ultimately good, is for the better. But, I do agree that, like, just having laws in place isn't necessarily a deterrent, right? There are plenty of people who still deal drugs and traffic children and, assault women and do all these things regardless of the law.
Yep.
I think it does work slightly as a deterrent, but it's not going to stop people if they want to do something or if they are driven to do something. But, I think that having people govern themselves, it's very interesting. I think that's the idea of anarchism, right? Or having
that's what it is.
Having a lack of government. So I think that is an interesting concept, but it could be kind of scary depending on who is governing themselves, but also who's in the government. And that's for another video. But
we have to dive into that. But yeah,
it is interesting that, I do agree that ultimately people kind of just, they drift in life and they don't actually think about, what should or should I not be doing based on my own values, based on the experience of others who are feeling the impact of these actions. I think they go, I can't do that because that's illegal. Or, I'll get in trouble if I do that. I shouldn't do that because that's illegal.
Yep.
Right? I think that's where a lot of people base their moral values on. And what they're essentially saying is, I base my moral values on the consensus of everyone, like on the majority.
And also, I think it stands for, they think the government is looking out for them, that has their best interests at heart. Like, they make these laws because they want to protect the people. They want to look out for us. They want to make sure we're all in line. And I think that's why they follow the government quick. Like, oh, if the government say it is okay to kill animals, that means it's in my human best interest. That means it's good for me.
But if you think about, like, people, they view the government as this, like, entity that exists, like, on its own, but they're just made up of people.
Just
right?
Like
so they're
people.
Made up of people who also, thinking like 99% of people on the planet, just follow the majority, right? Yeah. They follow the consensus, right? So they are going off of what you're saying, right? So the government they're not making any decisions that the people are not speaking out, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not putting forth. So, you know, if the government says something's illegal, that should have very little weight as to the morality of the situation, as we see when we look back in history. So, you know, it's just about who's making the laws, the time period, what the consensus is in general. That kind of determines the laws, not actually what's right, what's wrong, based on individual moral values.
Yep. So morality in law does not exist. That's oxymoron. It will never exist in law. It's still, once again, it's a business. It goes back. It's a business. It's not like, you know, they're over there debating about morality, and like in certain places, women still don't have the identical rights to women in America, or vice versa. So it's like, it's really like whoever's in control and whoever has that power, they have the final say. But okay, this has been lovely. But let's do our final thought. Our final thought is: where do you see veganism in? We won't be alive, but in 100 years, what? Let's be honest. Ed did something like this too. What do you think is going to happen in 100 years? You think the world will be majority vegan, or it'll be exactly the same how it is now in 100 years from
now? No, I think it's still not enough time. I don't think the majority will be vegan. I think that it will grow. I think that the younger generations will embrace veganism a lot more, because they won't have to break down. They won't have any cognitive dissonance, right? It'll be normal to them to hear about veganism, to hear about animal rights, to hear about, you know, treating animals well. That's going to be normal, right? So yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be, there's going to be bigger and bigger shifts every, you know, decade, but in 100 years, I don't think the world's going to be vegan. But yeah, we'll see.
Let's be realistic, because I was on Instagram before I quit and came back. This blew my mind. AI said in 79, not even 100, 79 years, majority of the planet will be vegan. I was like,
really?
I was like, AI, you must be tripping. You tripping, AI? Why can't it be now? Then in 79 years, that's pretty close.
I mean, look, it could be. I mean, civil rights from the abolishment of slavery took what, 150 years? Damn, so, you know, veganism has been around like as a movement, really. I know veganism and plant-based diets go back a long time, but veganism as like an organized movement since what, the 50s, something like that. So, you know, by 2050, 2100, we might have some traction. But again, with animals, it took 150 years from the abolishment of slavery to get equal rights for Black people or minorities. And that's humans. Those are other humans. So
the world sucks.
Animals, like, you know, I don't know. It shouldn't take longer, but it probably will. So we'll see. We'll see. But you know, we are also more educated now. We also have more science, better science. We have more resources now. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm just happy to be on like the forefront of things. I like, you know, it is very cool that veganism has grown a lot since I first went vegan, but it's still such a growing movement, and I'm very, you know, I think it's cool to be like on the front lines of that and trying to push for that, you know. So in 50 years, I could be like, yeah, I was vegan.
Your little walker.
At 18, I was. Yeah, you guys care about animals now? Fuck you guys, all right? I was already talking. Look at my Instagram. You're like, we don't use Instagram anymore, old man.
Oh yeah, I'm like, they gonna say you're so old. You're ancient. Instagram. What is that? Don't worry about it. Oh God. Oh, I say in 100 years, if I had to pick realistically, 100 years from now, Jesus Christ, I would say it will be, if it's 90% now, and this is pushing, I would say it'd be at least 30% of the planet will be fully vegan, not plant-based, fully vegan. 30% in 100 years, at least minimum 30%, and they can actually get the numbers and everything. I think if they did like a global thing, 30%. That's my final answer.
I hope so.
That's not bad.
I think I saw somewhere. I don't quote me on this. I don't remember where I saw it, but they said that once it gets to about 30%, then we have actual legal weight. Like we can actually make changes to the law. We can actually work on extending rights, because but prior to having like, because you need a large chunk of support
Yeah.
if we're gonna like push for actual big change legally, right? Actual like animal rights, equality for animals, with for the most part, um, and we don't have that yet. But that's the thing. Not everyone has to go vegan in order for the world, or at least most first world countries, to be vegan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like how not everyone has to be pro, black rights in order
Mm-hmm.
for the country to not be racist
Then you just
overall,
naturally
right?
respect people. They don't go around punching everybody that's different from them. They just, all right, cool. We just
Right,
exist
right,
together.
right, exactly.
We
So
just exist together.
for me, I would love if everyone actually respected animals and stopped enslaving them, or stop like on their own. But as long as it's illegal to do so, I mean, if
Yeah.
you really think you're superior to animals, you're just a shitty person, right? Just like how someone who's racist in 2025, it's
Yeah.
like you're shitty.
Do they
But
really still
lucky,
exist? Racists in 2025 really still exist? Is the KKK still going strong? Are
I don't know
they?
about the KKK, but in the South, yeah, they
Oh
exist.
wow.
Yeah.
I haven't met like a racist in a very long time. I thought they died out in like the 90s.
No, they exist. Yeah, I don't know, because my wife, she's from Florida, so
Oh,
she's
just
from
like me, Florida.
Shamuckla, or not from Shamuckla, but she's very close to a town called Shamuckla, which is right on the border of Alabama. I promise you, racism exists.
Oh
Anyone,
Jesus
yeah, it's
Christ! In 2025, I just look at it. I know we need to wrap up. I look at it like we're not going forward in time. We're literally going back in time. I feel like slavery's gonna pop up tomorrow. Back to human slaves, everybody. Let's go.
right.
What?
It feels that way because that's just how, right, because if you try and do too much change, right, you think, oh, let's start changing things. This is like great. Let's keep pushing the progression. But if you do too much, people start freaking out.
And just revert
right?
back.
People start freaking out, and they almost start going. They almost are like, wait a second, no, let's embrace some of this, right? That's why you see the Liver King stuff. You see like trad wife stuff, where people are like, women are pushing just staying at home and cooking like it's the 1950s, right? Like you're seeing all these movements pop up as like a resistance to the change. And logically, you're like, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense at all. But when you look at it emotionally, right, it's all fear-based, right? People are, it's change, whether it's positive, negative, people are uncomfortable with it. It's like scary to them.
That must be weird. I love change, especially if it's positive change. I'm like, dude, let's do it. I swear I should have been born in the 70s. I'm a hippie. Like, bro, love you, bro. Peace and love.
For your sake, I'm glad you weren't born in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I would say it's definitely better at least in 2025. But yeah, no, it's really interesting. But yeah, no, this is great. Thanks for having me on, and this is a good discussion. So
yeah, we have to do this again. These people, I get like threads like this daily. I have to delete. Like it's taking up too much space. It's like the things they say is it's just like I don't think they're. Maybe it's because the internet is so accessible. People like, oh, they can't trace me. Who cares? I just say whatever and be a troll. Half of these people don't even have a picture up, so it's just.
Oh yeah, no, that's all it is. Yeah. They're just anonymous people who just want to rant and say stupid things.